This is Daily Blast Live. We're talking about what you're talking about.
Get real.
No.
This
Just
is
stop.
a sham.
It's finally here. Drum roll.
Welcome to DBL. Happy Monday, everybody. Back at it again.
Yes, sir.
How was your weekend? Good?
Good.
Mine was awesome. Hung out with the kiddos. What about you?
Mine was also lovely. Did a little cooking, made some flatbread with
What'd you make?
Brussels sprouts flatbread with hot honey, lemon ricotta, some chicken and cheese.
I never know what you're supposed to do with hot honey.
That's what you do,
That's all?
I guess.
Wow.
How about you?
I didn't have any hot honey in the weekend, but it was a good weekend. It was a good weekend. And have you watched Chris Rock's special?
Yeah, we did.
All right, well, let's get to it. It's been almost a year since the Will Smith Chris Rock Oscar slap, of course. And on Saturday night, Chris hit back in his live Netflix comedy special called Selective Outrage. He opened the show with a joke about the slap, of course. Let's take a look.
You know what people say? They always say, words hurt. That's what they say. Gotta watch what you say, because words hurt. You know, anybody that says words hurt has never been punched in the face.
So we're going to hit all these beats before we talk about it. So Chris ended the show addressing the whole situation, but said he is not a victim and you will not see him sitting down with Oprah and Gayle to talk about it. Chris then said Will's anger wasn't really about him. It was selective outrage caused by Will's wife's entanglement with another man. Take a look.
I didn't have any entanglements. Everybody in here have been cheated on. None of us have ever been interviewed by the person that cheated on us on television. She hurt him way more than he hurt me, okay?
So Chris did take some time to talk about how much he was a fan of Will's. Let's look at that.
He's made some great movies. I have rooted for Will Smith my whole life. I root for this, okay?
All right, so Al, I got to ask you, what did you think of the show in general? When you take little clips out, or if you guys haven't watched the show at home, it's tough because when you take words out of a comedy special or just little clips out, the whole flow isn't there.
Jeff, I've said it before on the show. They shouldn't call it a comedy club. They should call it a context club. Because if you're not in that space at that time, it'd be like, if somebody just tells you what somebody's, they'd be like, this guy hates his wife and kids. It's like, no, it's Ray Romano. You know, but you had to be there to get how he was talking about it. And before I even get to what I want to say, that bit that he said about how much he had cheered for Will Smith his whole life, I knew it was true because he mentioned an obscure rap song that Will Smith made called The Brand New Funk. It's one of my favorite hip-hop songs of all time. And you have to be a deep, deep dive kind of fan to even know that. That's not Summertime. That's for the fans. And to be assaulted by him, I think he was hurt on a number of levels. To be assaulted by him, and this happened in 2022, the avalanche of international Twitters, texts, emails, yeah, he hit you, blah, blah, blah. For a year, he's had to walk with that and not be able to say anything. But I'm glad that instead of striking back with a violent tweet, he used what comics always do, which is their brain and a microphone. And I felt like he so perfectly dissected not only that situation with Will, which we can get really too focused on in this situation, but really all the steps in his life that led him up to that moment. He talked about that situation with the difference between like his daughter's and his mother's life and how they were coexisting at the same time and how these things lead to people being who they are in their adult life. And I think with the selective outrage, I really think he handled it as classy as anybody could have been expected to. He was humiliated internationally, and that'll be preserved in time forever. And I thought it was funny. I thought it was poignant. I thought it was interesting. I've heard all the specials. I could probably do a couple of them. Bring the Pain. I could do the one in D.C. And I'll say this before I pass the mic. Comics have to say uncomfortable things. Yeah. And Chris Rock, in his Bring the Pain special, opened in Washington, D.C., talking about the Million Man March, talking about the beloved Marion Barry, and he said, even in our finest moment, there's a crackhead on stage. That was his first joke in D.C. Do you understand that could have gone really left?
Yes, of course.
And you have to say things like that, whether you like it or not, because that's what comics do. They're meant to evoke emotion, and that's what Chris did, and I'm really proud of what he did.
Yeah, I was really, first of all, I thought it was very funny, the whole thing. Even when he was talking about really tough topics, abortion, Ukraine, really difficult things, his racism, January 6th, like all of it was funny. Everything to me was funny. I laughed out loud several times. But I didn't really know that that was the beef behind the Will. Like, I wasn't caught up on that. So when he explained the motive, that it wasn't about me, it was that Will Smith was feeling it from all angles, and everyone's calling him that word. And he said it over and over again, not saying he said it, but he's quoting. And then he comes and hits the one person who knows he can't kick his butt. That's, he said, what made him so angry. That, to me, explained a lot about the psychology of the slap and pushed Will Smith even further down.
Right. And
he hit on someone not even in his own size.
And he also said, I called you when you were going through that to get your back, and I'm the one you hit. You
That's exactly
feel how personal that was for him. That's
right.
Great note.
Yeah, go ahead.
No, I think that, in full transparency, I didn't watch the whole thing. I was very tired, so I fell asleep a couple times. But
so every comic wants to hear.
No.
When I was awake, you were killing it.
No,
when I was conscious,
when I was awake, he was killing it. No, I think that there was the parts that I saw were very masterfully done in terms of how he was able to weave in and out of one topic to the next. But when I think about how I consume comedy in general, and I am going to go back and watch it again because I really want to understand everything, I think about how I have these visceral reactions to certain things. And then in the past 5-10 years, those reactions have changed a lot because the way that people are putting out art, a lot of times comedians, I just watched a comedy show and this comedian said, I just want to be a cheeseburger. I want people to enjoy me while they have me in this place at this time. And the idea of that is so important because as we talk about, context is everything.
Right.
But because context is everything, if I'm sitting and watching something and someone has repeatedly said something completely brilliant 2 minutes before, and then they're referring to someone as the B word over and over and over again, and I have a visceral reaction to that, does that mean that I'm throwing away the entire special because I'm having a visceral reaction to hearing this woman be called the B word over and over and over again? So how do you feel about that?
I think it's okay for you to have a visceral reaction. I think when you're watching comedy, you're there because there's a reason that the lights are low. There's a reason that it's quiet.
Intimate.
And just one person's talking. You're talking about some adult stuff in there a lot of times. And sometimes, yes, it's goofy kind of sex jokes, but a lot of times it's somebody talking about their journey with cancer. It's somebody talking about their divorce. It's somebody talking about why they haven't talked to their son in 10 years. I talk about finding out my son was diagnosed with autism. I talk about my dad dying and how I found that out. And to just have those conversations at the bus stop would be very hard. There's a reason that we have those conversations in a way, and we know preemptively you are going to have a visceral reaction. Maybe you'll spontaneously laugh. Maybe you'll spontaneously stand up and walk out. But that needs to happen because all these things are inside of you, Erica, and comics are there to try and release that pressure valve for you and just be like, yeah, okay, the Colin Kaepernick, and you'll hear people, hey, don't go there. First of all, don't tell me what to do. Then second, don't do that. But also, we need to talk about it because we're all thinking about it. This is something that's happening in this world at this time. And politicians are going to have a script, and news anchors are going to have a script that they stick to. Only comics will be like, hey, look at this. Colin Kaepernick, you think that's unfair? What about now? What if I tilted 20 degrees? What if I tilted the other way? Now you were pro Colin, now are you anti? It's almost like taking a Rubik's Cube and you keep handing it back to the audience and seeing what they think about it. And that's what comics do when they're at their height. And without comedy, it's just all serious. It's just all YouTube guys yelling into a camera in their basement. And sometimes adults need to get together in the dark and talk about some unpleasant stuff. And some of that is Meghan Markle, and some of that is your personal assault, and some of that is your son or daughter coming out trans and how your family reacted to that, the different people in your family and how that hit their brain. It's difficult, but once you've mastered it, it's a skill that very few people can do well.
And I think to sum all this up, the title of his special, Selective Outrage, was perfect.
Yes.
Because we're kind of all touching on that.
Because that's what life is. We're all kind of liars at the same time. You know, you get mad about certain things, other things are okay. You know, so.
I'm with you. I'm with you. All right, coming up on DBL, we're talking with another comedian, Jim Gaffigan. He's telling us all about his new movie, Linoleum, and a Vanderpump Rules cheating scandal rocked the world.
I don't understand.
We're talking about it next.
Who are these people?
Somebody roll the clip.
Let's make sure we have Jeff's sex tape.
Wow, things are getting spicy here at DBL.
Cold-hearted snake, look into his eyes.
Let's roll that again, everybody.
Which is great. Which is great. So we're kind of sneaking into our next subject here, Vanderpump Rules. I don't know if you guys are fans out there. It's definitely one of my guilty pleasures. I love that show, so I don't know how many other people up here watch that show, so I might have to take this segment away. But
yeah, he's gonna have to take it away. It's been a moment since I've watched.
All right, so I'll save it. I'll save it for the show. But going back to Chris Rock, I thought he did a great job, man. I thought from the beginning he opened up strong. When he got to the white male parts, I wasn't really a big fan of that. No, I'm just joking. But he touched on everything, you know what I mean? The one part we didn't mention was the Kardashians. Hilarious, like, little part in there. But if you take out what he said about, like, Kanye or the Kardashians specifically and put it into society, you're like, man, why would he say that? But when, like I said, you watch the whole show, it's comedy, it's funny. You got to take it with a grain of salt. And we're getting too serious in our society now that they're like, how dare he say that? It's about the whole show. It's not about what he said, in my mind.
It's the entire. You're really just walking through somebody's mind, almost like a museum, and like seeing the world as they see it. And some things you're not going to agree with. Some paintings you're not going to like. Some paintings are going to cause a visceral reaction in you. I stopped, and this refers to Chris Rock, I stopped watching A Siege in the Fargo when they did that, when they were exchanging their sons.
I thought that was
because, yeah, I couldn't watch that because it caused such a reaction on me. I never watched it.
Welcome back. Some stars of the reality show Vanderpump Rules are involved in a big old cheating scandal. Ooh. So I'm going to explain it for you in case you're not a fan. Me, it's my guilty pleasure. So that's Tom Sandoval, right? And he's been dating his girlfriend Ariana for 9 years. And over the weekend, rumors started swirling that he was cheating on her with another fellow castmate, Raquel. Turns out the rumors are true. TMZ broke the news of Tom and Ariana's split last week, and over the weekend, Tom issued an apology on Instagram. In it, he asked his fans to take their anger out on him, but to leave his friends, family, and restaurant business partner, Tom Schwartz, out of it. He also said that while his restaurant, Schwartz and Sandy's, has his name on it, there are 3 other partners and 20 employees who rely on it for income. Tom also didn't mention his ex, Ariana, in that apology.
Can I ask you a question? Can we go back to the first picture? Was that Ariana and then Raquel next to him?
Yes. Yeah.
So
let me see.
Ariana.
So that's Ariana and that's Tom Sandoval.
Okay.
He's got a business partner, Tom Schwartz.
Got it.
Okay.
And then who's this next woman?
And then let's see the next picture. I'll break it down for you. It's coming up. Don't worry. Okay, so now that's Raquel.
Oh,
they're all in the show together. It's about a show about people who work in the restaurant industry in Los Angeles.
Now, I heard Raquel was Rachel in high school. That's what I heard.
That's the rumor going around. She switched her name to Raquel.
I heard
to
she
be a
was
little.
Rachel.
All right, now, Jeff, you are the expert, so walk us through this.
It's my guilty pleasure, man.
Are you shocked by this?
Listen, that girl, Raquel, we'll keep her Raquel. She was so gossipy. She was engaged to this other guy on the show right? And they broke up, and now he has another girlfriend. So she's kind of in the dark over here.
She doesn't have a storyline.
Right.
But wasn't Tom with somebody else on the show? Wasn't he like married to somebody?
He has a girlfriend that they broke up. But there's two Toms, okay? There's a restaurant in LA called Tom Tom. In the season currently, right now, she's kind of flirting with the other Tom.
Tom Schwartz?
Tom Schwartz. And now it's come out that she had an affair with Tom Sandoval.
But wasn't Sandoval with somebody else before who worked there?
Yeah,
in the
they
group?
all slept with each other. What do you mean? It's a reality show.
Was he engaged to Ariana or just dating Ariana?
Just dating.
Okay.
It's a reality show. They all sleep with each other.
All right.
They all get drunk, and that's pretty much the show.
But isn't that pretty much the restaurant industry?
Yes.
Anybody that's been a waiter or a bartender or, bro. Yeah. There's a reason those shows are popular, because if you work back there, you know that's not too far from reality.
Yeah, it's a great idea. We need to get Sam on here, because we were texting all weekend.
Were you?
We were super into this.
I felt so out of it.
I went down the rabbit hole.
You did.
Yeah.
Can you just say if you're pro Tom or anti Tom?
I'm not taking a side on national TV.
Oh, you're not taking a side. That's why you're here.
This is big news. I haven't decided yet.
That's your job.
To take a side on Schwartz and Ariana.
That's what we do here.
I'm going to plead the fifth. Coming up on DBL, our very funny interview with comedian Jim Gaffigan. That's next.
The Secure Act 2.0 that went into law on January 1st makes some changes to existing rules around retirement accounts. It also could give a one-up to people struggling to pay student loans. To get the facts, we went to Mark Henry, CEO of Alloy Wealth Management, the text of the Secure Act 2.0, and the Board of Governors of the Federal Reserve System. It's a tough choice for some student loan borrowers: put money into their 401k and save for retirement, or make payments on their student loans. But a provision in the Secure Act 2.0 might make it easier for borrowers to save for retirement and pay off their loans.
Starting in 2025, businesses will be able to make a contribution to your 401k if you pay down your student debt.
According to the Secure Act 2.0, it works like a company match on 401k contributions. Companies can count payments made on student loans, match those payments, and put that money into employees' 401k.
You paid a $200 payment to pay down your student loan, and the company you work for in that example put $200 in your 401k.
According to the Board of Governors of the Federal Reserve System, the total student debt balance, including federal and private loans, is more than $1.76 trillion. For students struggling to choose saving or paying off loans, Henry says this new law could help.
That would encourage young people to actually pay down their student loans.
Henry says the Secure Act 2.0 does not force companies into matching student loans. That will be up to the companies if they want to participate or not. With your Verify Fact Check, I'm Megan Bragg.
Welcome back to DBL. He's a Grammy-nominated comedian, a New York Times best-selling author, and an actor. Earlier, we spoke with Jim Gaffigan. Take a look. Please welcome to DBL, Jim Gaffigan.
Thank you, everyone. It's great to be here.
Before we get to linoleum, we had a conversation about Peter Pan earlier, and people saying it's too woke, and I'm not going to get you into this whole gotcha thing, but you play Mr. Snee, and my question to you was, do you think about this now, Jim? Because you're making so many movies. Do you have to think about how the pushback from the woke culture or society is going to affect the movies that you're in?
I mean, not really. I mean, I do feel like if there are adjustments to projects to make them more less offensive, like anyone who's watched, if you have kids and you watch Peter Pan, you're like, the animated one, you're like, holy cow, I can't believe this is.
Yeah, thank you. Tiger Lily,
yes. This is what's being said. And so it's not, I don't know, I feel like as a creative person, you can be held hostage by other people's approval, but you also want to be able to accomplish your creative goal. And so I don't think particularly, I mean, Peter Pan's a really glaring example.
Yeah.
I mean, that movie, the animated one, was done in the 30s. You know what I mean? It's, there's a lot of things that are problematic, or even that word problematic is strange. But no, I don't think it's not that big of an adjustment to make slight changes to language so that someone doesn't get their feelings hurt. It doesn't bother me.
I think
I'm
we
a
all
great
agree.
guy. That's why.
You are a great guy. First of all, your movie Linoleum, Jim, has things falling from the sky. So I have to know the $1 million question, too. And it's about the stars and all that. Are aliens real? What do you believe is out there? Are we alone?
I mean, I think, I don't know about you, but I feel like I'm not even from this planet right now. You know what I mean? Like, there's a lot of times when you watch the news and you're like, well, that person can't be from here because that just escapes basic logic. I don't know. The alien thing, I think it's so weird how, the aliens arrived and they didn't really even survive a 24-hour news cycle. We saw that there's aliens anyway, but can you believe what's going on with Drake calling out his exes? The aliens were kind of not interesting enough to hold our attention.
It's true.
It's really sad.
We can move to
I
Drake.
think even if they landed, people would just be mad. I'm trying to get to work here. My Waze app didn't take me around. Well, Jim, I'm a huge fan of stand-up. I do stand-up myself. You're Indiana's finest comic ever. Shout out. And, one of the things you do on stage that I've always loved about you is that kind of inner side voice, and my co-host Jeff and I were talking about during the break. You play your own doppelganger in this movie. Did you incorporate a little bit of that into that character, and what was the best part of playing you?
It is interesting, giving the opportunity to play a second character is really fun because as an actor, you're just kind of finding this character within yourself, and some of the inside voice that I use in my stand-up comedy is an additional point of view. I mean, every comedian has a lot of voices in their heads. I mean, we all do. We all have different versions of ourselves. And so, particularly in Linoleum, the fact that I got to play two different characters was fun, but it's also not surprising. I mean, I have children, I'm sure that anyone who's seen my stand-up, hopefully I'm, approachable and likable, but, I play this character, Kent, in this movie, who's rather intimidating. But, to my children, I'm the guy that takes screens away from them. I'm like this force of evil. So it's not a stretch.
So speaking of doppelgangers, Jim, I think the late, great Philip Seymour Hoffman was yours. Did you channel him while making this movie?
Ooh.
No, but I did a Broadway play, and they called that Championship Season, and they literally said, we offered it to Philip Seymour Hoffman, and he turned it down. And so we're going to offer it to you.
You're the beta,
You're
the beta team.
Hey.
I mean, he also is one of America's great actors,
Fair, right.
So being compared to him is... But I also, whenever I see someone that looks like me, there's a certain sadness I feel, because going around looking like this it's not great. Even doing this Zoom, the fact that I have to look at myself is kind of painful.
Thank you, DBL Nation. Linoleum is in theaters now. You can also check out Jim's comedy tour, Dark Pale, by visiting his website, jimgaffigan.com. Thank you so much, Jim. We'll be right back. You look good, buddy.
Oh, well, thank you.
We typically don't even think about breathing, but some recent headlines about gas stove emissions and worries over toxic chemicals in the air, or even just this early onset allergy season, might have you thinking a little bit more about the quality of the air you breathe. A viewer asked us if using an air purifier has shown any health benefits. We turned to several sources to verify yes, but its effectiveness depends on the type of air purifier, what kind of pollutants you're dealing with, and where you put it. Since the Environmental Protection Agency warns filter-free air cleaners can generate high amounts of lung-irritating ozone, the EPA instead says to start by looking for air purifiers with a HEPA filter.
But it does need to run rather continuously for it to be effective.
Dr. Anjani Keswani says it should be running at least whenever people are in the room, and the filter should be rated to properly filter the size of the room it's placed in. Research shows air purifiers can help remove harmful gases from the surrounding air, but in that case, old-fashioned ventilation is probably more effective. The devices are best at catching the slightly bigger tiny particles floating around in your home, like allergens, dust, fungal spores, and emissions. There's strong evidence that helps reduce asthma symptoms in children, but the World Health Organization says household air pollution can lead to serious health problems for anyone. Dr. Keswani points out, though, people live life outside the home too, so it's a bit tough to study specific health benefits of a purifier in the house, though research does show cleaner air is healthier air.
I think a lot about air pollution as affecting the lungs and the nose and maybe the sinuses as well, but there's actually a huge amount of literature on how particulate matter affects heart attack risk and stroke risk.
Research shows the portable purifiers are more effective because they don't just rely on heat or AC kicking in to work. We have more information on the research and findings on our website. With your Verify, I'm Abby Larico.
An omen of impending disaster? A real-life version of Hitchcock's horror movie, The Birds. That's what some people thought when they saw this viral video of a massive flock of blackbirds covering the street and perched on cars and houses in a residential neighborhood in Santiago de Querétaro, a city in central Mexico. Since January, that video has been posted by multiple accounts, garnering more than 4 million views and lots of comments about what caused this scene. One person wrote, quote, "The main theory behind this is that the birds sense an environmental crisis is coming." So let's verify. Does this massive flock of blackbirds indicate an environmental crisis? These are our sources. The Cornell Lab of Ornithology, the National Audubon Society, and the Columbia Audubon Society confirmed that this is completely normal behavior for blackbirds and doesn't indicate a change in their environment. Blackbirds frequently gather in large numbers during the winter and often in residential neighborhoods. Flocks of blackbirds, estimated to number in the millions, have been sighted for decades. So can these birds predict any type of natural disasters? The United States Geological Survey says some research has been done to see if birds can predict earthquakes, but they say, quote, "consistent and reliable evidence of this behavior has yet to be found." So we can verify, no, this massive flock of blackbirds does not indicate an environmental crisis. With your Verify, I'm Adiante Till.
Welcome back. If you suffer from joint pain, adapting your house to work for you can help you avoid painful situations. It's time for some joint and muscle support brought to you by Omega XL. There are some easy ways to adapt your house to make your daily routine easier. To avoid spills in the bathroom, you can put a bench and slip mats in the tub and by the toilet. In the kitchen, keep things you use most on the counter so you don't have to bend over and grab them from the cabinets and things like that. And replace heavy cookware with lighter pots and pans. Omega XL has improved the lives of millions of consumers, supported by 30 years of clinical research. Omega XL's powerful improvement benefits have transformed the lives of athletes, celebrities, and dedicated daily users. Call 800-813-6801 or visit OmegaXL.com for more information. All right, we got to go, but we'll talk more about Vanderpump Rules tomorrow.
I can't wait.